I'm going to take you through Flutterflow, which is a really cool no-code tool that you can use to develop your own applications. I'm going to start off with the real simple basics, but if you follow along this series, I'll take you through everything you need to know on exactly how to build your own application from scratch. We're going to start with the basics of Flutterflow. This is a free application that you can access just by going to the Flutterflow website and signing up. To start with, I'll take you through the basic page structure. So Flutterflow is made up of pages, which you can see on the left-hand side here. At the moment, I've only got a home page. And then within a page, you have multiple different elements that you can use to structure your page. So the first thing to understand is that we have our app bar at the top, and then we have our initial column down the bottom that we can start building in. To kick things off, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add a container. And that container is going to allow us to house other elements inside of it. Now, as you can see, when we first start, we just have a pretty simple container that's tucked up in the corner here. But if I go down here into width and click this infinity symbol, you can see it now stretches to fit the entire page. And if I swap to a different device size, you will see that that stretches with the device as well. Next, inside this container, we're going to want a column. So I'm just going to drag and drop a column inside there. So that is going to allow us to split this container if we want to into multiple columns. But for now, I'm just going to keep one column. And then inside the column, we're going to want a row so that we can start adding information in row by row. Now, before I get started, what I want to do is actually just add a little bit of room around the outside here so that it's not right up against the edges of my screen. Now, if I try and select here, it's selecting column by default. So I can go over to this widget tree and I can see here all my different elements that I've added to the page. So I'm going to select my container and I'm going to give this a 16 pixel padding. Now, it's just doing it on one side, but if I hit this lock, it's now going to lock it on all sides. And there we have it. Now I've got my container sitting inside the screen, not hard up against the edge. I also want to make this stand out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow. So down here we have box shadow. I'm going to turn that on. If I unclick there, you can see there now I've got a nice little shadow. And I want to soften those corners a little bit as well. So I'm going to add a little bit of a border radius over here. So let's try 5. I'll lock that so that it's all, yep, cool, that'll do. There I have a simple container that I can now start adding other elements into. I'm going to add a little bit of padding into this column as well. Let's say 10 pixels there and lock that in. So now that column is sitting just inside my container. And you can see I've got that row sitting there. So let's jump back over to our elements and let's drag and drop some text into that row. I'm going to edit the text over here. Let's just call this projects. Now I want another row of text, so I'm going to just duplicate this row. There we go. And I want to change the styling of this text a little bit so that I can differentiate it from the title. So we're going to go down here and we're going to select theme text style and we're going to make this a title style. And we will update this. Let's just say there are 100 projects. These are your basic building blocks in Flutter. You've got rows, you've got columns, and you've got containers that house your different elements for you to display in your page. So next, let's talk page navigation. So first of all, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a second page that you want to move to. So we go over to the widget tree and we can add a new page. We can right click on here, click these 3 dots and duplicate this page if we want. Or we can add a completely new page by clicking this button up here. Let's duplicate the home page for now just to make our lives easier. And I'm just going to call this page 1 for now. And just so that we can tell it's different here, let's change the text up the top and we'll just call this page 1. So now we've got a second page, but we need to be able to navigate from one page to the other. So if we go back to the home page, go back to our elements, and let's just go down and grab a button and drag and drop that button onto our page. We'll change this to call it Next. Now we have a button on the page, but we want that to actually take us to the next page. So to do that, after clicking on the button, we're going to go up here into Actions, and we're going to add a new action. You can see here we've got a heap of different actions, so on tap, double tap, long press, and then what we want to do after that button's been clicked. So I'm just going to use on tap, and I want to navigate to page 1. Now let's actually test that works. Now that it's loaded our app, we can test quickly and see if we hit this next button, there we go. We jump over to page 1, which is exactly what we wanted.